All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everybody, this is the PASS Data Warehousing and Business Intelligence virtual chapter, and I'd like to welcome along Matthew Roche, who is our speaker today. Matthew will introduce himself in a little while. In the meantime, wherever you are in the world, good morning, good evening or good night. We are a global organisation and I'd like to share some PASS community news with you, if I may. So first of all, if you are planning on attending the PASS Summit 2014, we'll see you there, and I'm really looking forward to it. If you are looking for a discount, we have a code you can use, so please get in touch with me and we'll see what we can do. So we actually had our preview of the PASS Summit sessions. Those just went up on the YouTube channels earlier this week. So if you're interested in seeing some of the sessions before they happen, then please do have a look. They're not exactly the same. I know when I did my Summit session, it's an adjunct to my actual session that I'll be delivering on the day. I can't wait to Summit. I just love the event. It's great having so many SQL Server experts in one place, and it's a great way to learn. So some virtual chapter meetings. I'd like to point out to you that the Global Chinese book chapter is starting up again. They had a meeting on September the 1st, September the 9th, and that's going to continue. Just going to go back a slide or two. Now, today's session is on using Power BI for managing personal fitness. We're still organising the sessions for October at the minute, but those of you on our mailing list will get a copy and a note of what we've got available. So upcoming SQL Saturdays, these events are all taking place. We've got 3 happening this weekend. We've got one in Boston, which is our Business Intelligence Edition, one in Orlando and one in Mobile. I don't know if I've said that properly. And because we are a truly international organisation, on the 4th of October we have one in Athens, and we also have one in the Netherlands, which is in Utrecht in Holland. I'm presenting there, so I'm looking forward to that. And there's also one in Tirana as well. If you'd like to know more about SQL Saturday events, visit sqlsaturday.com. Now, I'm organising one in London on the 22nd of November. It's a Business Analytics edition. We are actually full, but if you add yourself to the waiting list, if there's any attrition of places, then hopefully you'd manage to get a session, an actual seat there. So finally, if you're interested in growing your career, there's one thing you can do, is volunteer with PASS. I know that certainly since I've started to volunteer with PASS, it's really changed my life in some ways, because I met so many great friends and I was able to connect, learn and share with people who work for Microsoft. So it's helped my career because I've learned a lot and I've made great friends as well. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. We don't expect everyone to go up and want to speak or something like that, but if you want to sort of help run a SQL Saturday or your local user group, there's lots of different ways that you can connect, learn and share. Okay, so I'm just going to pass control over to Matthew, and I'll let Matthew introduce himself. I've really been excited about Matthew's session, and I'd like to say thank you to him for supporting our Power BI month that we've been having this month. It's been really successful. We've managed to reach out to a lot of people. So with that, I will hand over to Matthew.
All right, thank you very much, Jen. Good morning to everyone around the world. It's 7 o'clock in the morning here in Redmond, so hopefully I will be able to keep all of us awake. There's not a lot of people in the office, but one of the things that I like to do, I've made it a habit to start off my morning every day. First thing I do when I get up is go to the gym, and this is really what has motivated me to be here today. I want to give extra special thanks to Jen for making this happen. Not only is Jen one of the real movers and shakers in the PASS community, our technical community, Jen also shares a passion for fitness, and it was her suggestion that she posted on social media that got the conversation going that ended up in this session. So you know, the most thanks and the most kudos to Jen for making this work. So when I was putting this together, the whole focus of today's session is about using self-service BI tools that Microsoft has created as part of its Power BI offering to track personal fitness. I was trying to come up with sort of a clever name on Power BI, so I was thinking maybe we should go with Powerlifting BI, and I figured that at some point there will be someone on the call who knows that what we're talking about is not technically powerlifting, it's more bodybuilding or weight training. So I figured that it would be even more fitting to say that this is going to be a Power TMI session, or too much information. The session that we're about to embark on is a very personal session, so I will be showing off my own fitness data, I will be talking about my own fitness story, and we'll be showing my own progress pictures throughout. I'm not really an exhibitionist, but I think that it's a real core part of the story. I want to show a technical solution, and I will also want to show how each one of us can make a difference in our own lives by committing to fitness, by being more active, by changing our day-to-day behaviors, and hopefully if you are a data-centric person or someone who is motivated by data, as I am, the solution that we're showing off, in which you'll be able to download at the end of the session, is going to be a big part of that for you. It's really changed the way that I think about my fitness and my progress, and I've used it as a motivation tool as well. There are a couple things that I want to stress. The first one is I don't claim to be an expert about anything. I used to be a business intelligence practitioner when I joined Microsoft. Now I build BI tools and can't claim to really know what's going on in the real world anymore, because I've been with Microsoft for about 6 years and have forgotten what the real world is like. I have never been a fit person. Everything that we're discussing in the story to come is really relevant to the last 2 years or so, so I am very much a learner, learn new things every day. But with that said, one of the things that I have found is that a lot of people are really afraid to ask questions. A lot of people want to be in better shape, they want to be more fit, but it's not something that they understand how to address. One of the things that I never want to do is to be the guy who goes around offering unsolicited fitness advice, because that guy's annoying. So I think about this session in some ways as essentially being the unsolicited fitness advice that you asked for by attending. And before we get going, since it is bright and early and I can't see any of you, you're going to give me some data about why you're here and what your goals are, and this is the price that you pay for polls. All right, it's the first time I've done polls inside GoToMeeting, so I'm going to work under the assumption that you are here. Yeah, I see interesting information flowing in, so essentially I want to see what you're here for. Is it the technical stuff? Is it the fitness stuff? And it looks like most people are equally interested in the fitness and the fitness and technical details, and about 5% really just want to see the shirtless pictures of me that they promised, which is kind of a scary statement there. We've got about 75% of the folks on the call who have voted, so I'm actually going to close this poll and move on to the next one. So the next one is, how fit are you? And just as we'll see in the session that comes, I've been working out regularly for almost exactly 2 years. It was early October of 2012 that I started working out. I've really changed the way that I think about myself and the way that I think about fitness in my life through this effort. But for the other 43 years of my life, I would have answered no comment, as about 6% of you have. It looks like most people on the call work out regularly for one way or another, either all the time or occasionally. That is great to see. And the final question is, how business intelligence savvy are you? So most people said they were interested in the technical details. So I'm interested in seeing, do you actually work in BI professionally? Do you work in other technical fields? Are you a data person or analyst that works in Excel? Or is this completely new to you? And as the numbers are coming in, it looks, which is probably not a surprise given the fact that this is a past session, about 62% are BI professionals, another 27% are other technical professionals, and we've got 2% who claim to be complete newbies. So I will close those polls down, and I will then hide the poll results to get back into the presentation. So thank you very much for the data. I may post charts later on. Let me click here and close this. So the session itself, we have 3 things that I want to go into. The first one is going to be super quickly. It's a single slide. What is Power BI? What's the quick overview? This is not a marketing talk. I will move through this as quickly as possible. The other pillar, the second pillar, is essentially my story, what motivated me, what inspired me, how did I do it, and then how did I pull the data together. And then finally, where I want to spend the bulk of the session is a solution drill down into the capabilities that I built in Excel with Power BI. So for that first one, here's the slide that I stole from the marketing team. Power BI is an offering from Microsoft. It's focused on self-service business intelligence. There are 2 primary sets of capabilities. On the right-hand side in orange, we have collaborative capabilities that are delivered in the cloud through Office 365. You need an Office 365 Power BI subscription to get these capabilities. It's awesome if you're working on a team and want to share data. On the left-hand side, we have self-service capabilities in Excel. For the most part, if you own Excel 2013, these are free add-ins or capabilities that are built core into Excel. Everything that we are showing today is on the green side. We are not using any of the capabilities for which you would need an Office 365 Power BI subscription. We want to focus on something that is accessible and effective for everyone. So with that said, I want to tell a little bit about my story. So first and foremost, when I close my eyes, this is the mental self-image that I have of myself. If you have ever met me in person, I've probably mentioned Manowar to you. They're the most awesome heavy metal band in the world. Their songs, their message, their music is all about personal empowerment, finding the strength within, being the best person that you can be, not letting anything in the world get in your way to come between you and your goals. And I've never been a fit person. Genetically, I was born to be tall and skinny, so until I was 40, I could eat whatever I want, never work out, never gain any weight. Wasn't strong, but that was okay. And I travel around the world. You can see me there in the front row. Manowar show, Bulgaria, 2010. It was this show that motivated me to start getting fit. I've got a couple friends, well, I've got dozens of friends from around the world that I see at Manowar shows whenever they tour. And in particular, I've got a friend who is a police captain in Stuttgart, Germany. My friend Udo, he's a couple years older than me, and he's just this mountain of muscle. And I saw him in Bulgaria and did a mental comparison of myself to him, which is never the safe thing. But I realized, I've just turned 40. If I'm ever going to be in decent shape, this is the time. Now is the time that I'm going to act. And when I got back to the States after this tour, I got a gym membership, started working with a personal trainer, started working out multiple times a week. I traveled a lot for work, but I had a workout that I could do in a car gym whenever I wanted. I was making great progress. In March of 2011, I ended up getting into a car crash. So I was actually driving back, believe it or not, from a Manowar concert, hit some nasty weather, hit some black ice, went off the road, totaled my car, broke a couple ribs, and you might think that this is, what derailed my progress. And of course, you'd be wrong. This is me 2 weeks later, Birmingham, UK, front row, being crushed by the crowd, but still with the 2 broken ribs. The key thing is I was very motivated, didn't let it stop me, kept working out, made sure that my trainer gave me a routine that I could work through without injuring myself, that wasn't what stopped me. Ironically, the thing that got me onto a downward spiral was a professional opportunity. In 2011, in the summer, I took a job on the SQL Server team. I'd been with Microsoft, but in a different team, moved my family out to the West Coast, and at that point, the work stress, the family stress, all of these things sort of built up. Lots of great food, and just for the record, these are all pictures that I took on my camera over the year or so that follows. So I stopped working out, I broke my routine, I started enjoying all of the capabilities, all of the things that Seattle had to offer, great food, great drink, you know, be it at home or on the outside, our restaurants and so on. And over the course of the next 18 months, I gained almost 40 pounds. And this is, sadly, hate to admit it, this is not a before picture. This was January 1st of last year, after I had lost about 15 pounds already. Before then, I just couldn't face the idea of taking a progress picture. At this point, I was starting to see a noticeable change, and I wanted to start capturing my progress. And at this point, the journey really began for me. So let's think about what it was. We saw how I got into this horrible shape. So, you know, it was stress, it was a break in routine, it was a lot of bad habits that I let get away from me. How did I move forward? Well, probably not a surprise here. You know, the inspiration that has always driven me. Also, I started to use social media. So I found an article online where a fitness blogger, you know, a techie fitness blogger as well, talked about how he worked with Facebook and Twitter, and he had committed that for a year he was going to post his weight and his body fat percentage online every day. And he described this as a self-shaming diet, which, you know, I don't believe in shame. You know, if there's something that you would be ashamed of, you just don't do it. But it certainly is a focusing factor. If there's a metric that you're tracking, sharing that metric and having visibility around it is always a motivator to move that metric, you know, from red to yellow to green. So again, got a gym membership. Didn't have a trainer to work with. I've yet to find one out in this area that that I've meshed with. But every day, started working out. I would get to the gym and I would post from my scale in the morning my weight and my body fat. I also used, yet again, forcing functions and deadlines. So this is me at a Man of War show in Sweden last year. So I would use these shows as a motivator, a forcing function, a mental focus to motivate me, you know, to work it harder at the gym, to be a little bit more careful with what I ate. Having these factors that I can put in place myself keeps me on track and keeps me motivated. And you may well think that I'm evil when I say this, but one of the things that I do at work, you know, I love to cook. Well, I love to eat, but I also love to cook and bake. Every Monday morning I will bring in treats for my team. So this is a picture of some truffles that I brought in a few months back. You know, the kids and I will spend the weekend in the kitchen a lot of times, and I get in trouble if I leave these at home because then the family and I will eat them. So I bring them in, and in addition to improving my own situation, I will increase the calories that are being consumed by the team. I'm slimming down, I'm building muscle, I'm fattening up the people around me, so I feel and look even better by comparison. Now, let's get into the actual changes that I've made. So, and remember, we are on track for the technical details, so we'll move into that as quickly as we can. What I've found is that just as when I was learning business intelligence, so as I was ramping up on the SQL Server BI side of things, you know, over the last 10 or 15 years, I had a lot of learning opportunities. I've seen a lot of similar patterns in my fitness journey as well. And I am going to read some of the items on this slide. Normally I don't do this, but I want to focus on a few of these. The first thing is, it's all, the entire process on both sides is about forcing something to do something that it doesn't want to do or wasn't meant to do. With business intelligence, the whole challenge about BI, if you boil it down, it's about taking data that was meant for one purpose, for the transactional system in which it was created, and forcing it into a different shape for a different purpose as part of the analytic system that you're creating. With fitness, you're trying to force your body to change, and the last thing that your body wants to do is change. It wants to be as efficient and lazy as possible, so you've got to put stresses on it to force it into a new shape. The big picture is more important. When I was first learning SQL Server integration services, most of the documentation, most of the books that I found, they would have this really granular technical information about, this specific task does this thing, and this transformation does this other thing. And it's good information that unless you understand the broader context, it's not really useful. So the same sort of thing is true with fitness. I found a lot of very technical, granular information online, but the thing that has been most useful to me is actually the bigger picture things, having structured information, structured programs to work through. From a motivational perspective, when I'm at work, I am always much more productive, much more focused when there is a deadline approaching. This is the same thing for me with fitness. If I know that I am going to be going to, for example, pass the SQL Server conference that Jen mentioned in a couple months, I will see friends there or at a Man-O-War show or what have you that I only see once or twice a year. That's a great motivating factor for me to be in better shape then. And that external motivation as well, so having the visibility for the metrics that you're tracking, on a project, you've made a commitment to someone that you will, deliver certain things on a certain deadline, and that's driving you even if you're not feeling personally motivated. It's the same sort of thing when I get up and go to the gym every morning. There are some mornings when I just do not want to get out of bed, but I know that if I don't check in at the gym on Facebook, there's probably 3 or 4 people out there in my network that will ask me questions about it or give me a hard time about it. That's one of the things that keeps me going. And perhaps the most significant thing is that the factors that make the biggest difference, both in fitness and BI, are often these boring behind-the-scenes details. A BI project will never succeed unless you have executive sponsorship and the right budget and the contacts in the business to provide that deep context for the data. As a technical person, often this is the last thing that you want to care about, but you can't succeed without it. From a fitness perspective, the thing that almost everyone focuses on is the exercise. How much am I lifting? How far have I run? How fast am I doing it? But the thing that makes the biggest difference is almost always what you eat. I found that simply by prepping my meals, and I'm a pretty good cook and I love to cook, so this is not a burden for me. I know that it is for some people, but I'll spend an afternoon on the weekends. I will prep lean protein, I will prep slow carbs, I will prep veggies, and each morning when I come to work, I have whatever I'm going to eat during the day with me already. This enables me to succeed, just as having the business details out of the way is going to help you succeed as well. I'm not sure why we are building so slowly on the slide, but the most important thing that I've learned in both contexts is that it depends. Having worked as a business intelligence consultant for many years, you can't answer a question without saying it depends, because there's so many things that are situational and context sensitive. The same thing is true with fitness. What works for one person may not work for another. What works for you today may not work for you tomorrow. So let me do a quick tour of some of the things that we have found online. So I want to show off a couple resources that I have found to be super valuable, and this is going to tie into the data that we're bringing in. First of all, let me actually come here. We'll come into Firefox first. So first of all, Fitocracy is a fitness-centric social media site that has gamification elements as well. So essentially, this is the tool that I use to track my workouts every day. So yesterday was leg day, started off with some deadlifts and some squats and so on and so forth. And you can enter for each exercise how many pounds you lifted, how many repetitions you did, and when you log that workout, Let me come in here. Come on. I have obviously no idea what I'm looking for. There we go. So when you log the workout, you can earn points for it. Notice this here. And then when you earn those points, you can level up. And this is a great gamification mechanism. When I'm at the gym in the morning, often I will get to the gym before 5 o'clock. So there's not a heck of a lot of mental energy in me at that point. But knowing that if I can do one more rep or one more set or one more exercise and I can earn more points, not only am I going to have a higher score for the day, I'm going to hit the next level sooner. And let me click on the leaderboard here. This is one of the things that absolutely I just can't get enough of, moving up on the leaderboard. So I'm currently 125. If we scroll down here, this is 125 out of around 200,000 people on the network. I don't look like any of these super fit guys. That's all well and good, but I've got the numbers, and I'm a numbers guy. So we've got Photocracy, awesome tool, awesome network, and there's a lot of social media capabilities and collaboration as well if you're looking for support or input, but it's also a great data source. It's where I get most of my data. Another source is coming from bodybuilding.com. This is the granular information where for nearly 1,000 different exercises, you can go in and either browse by muscle group, or let me actually just click on one of these to start with. We'll drill down in here. For every single exercise, there is a broad set of metadata, the type of exercise, the type of equipment, and so on. There is a video that describes it. There's a series of pictures, and there is a text-based description of how to perform the exercise. This is perhaps the single most useful thing for me as I was getting started. It's like, how the heck do I do that? You see the video, but I'm a very slow learner for physical things. Having this depth of information has been super, super valuable for me. But it's the tactical stuff. What I needed at the beginning was strategic stuff. And this is where I started. So when I first started working out, I found this 12-week program. Lee Labrada is, I think of him as the Mr. Rogers of weightlifting. He's a multi-time Mr. Olympia winner, so he's a big name in the industry. But he comes across as your grandfather of weights, and he has a great program. It's 12 weeks. For every day there's a video. He explains what you need to do and why. It is the perfect place to get started. So if you have one takeaway on the fitness side, if you want to get into better shape, come here, start here. It's super accessible. Even if you've never lifted weights before in your life, this is an awesome place to start. When I finished this, I discovered this guy, Jim Stepani, and Jen has actually had the pleasure of meeting Jim in person, so I'm very jealous of that, Jen. And Jim is sort of the polar opposite of Lee Labrada from a motivation perspective. So Jim is very in your face, he's very metal, and it's all about pushing and being, to one degree or another, the alpha male inside you, be you male or female. And when I was first starting this program, I was thinking, I don't know if I'm up to this. I've been lifting literally for just 3 months. This is, a very different communication, but I had awesome results with this program, as well as with his next one, which was focused on fat loss rather than just muscle building. And currently, all of the routines that I am working on are coming from his site. So he has his own dedicated site with a whole bunch of routines. I never get bored. I have yet to hit a plateau. Makes a huge difference there. Now, let's actually see how we're using some of this data together. Before we jump into the solution, I want to throw out a few more things that I learned about Power BI from my BI experience. First and foremost, I want to throw out kudos to the Power Query team. Power Query, which we're going to spend a lot of time in today, may very well be the most awesome data tool ever created. The first couple times I used it, I wanted something with more boxes and arrows because that's how I was used to thinking about data and data transformation. But the more I use Power Query and its interactive, powerful capabilities, the more that I realized that this is the tool that I had always wanted and always needed, but never realized it. The next thing that I learned as building the solution is that Self-service doesn't necessarily mean simple or simplistic. The patterns that I use putting together my fitness tracking are the same patterns that I've used in corporate BI solutions over the years. Again, we'll drill down into that very shortly. I had a quote. This is from a client that I used to work with about 10 years ago back in New York. We were pulling in data from a system called Inquire. It was this proprietary system, and we were just running into problem after problem after problem with our data ingress. And this guy, Jerry, one of the technical folks on the team, he said in a meeting, it's like, you know, we planned for wolves, and Inquire is werewolves. And it is perhaps the most profound statement that any customer has ever said to me on a project in the context of data quality. No matter how well you think you know the data, it's always going to throw a twist at you, and especially working with the Photocracy data, the files that I get from Photocracy, I had lots and lots of werewolf moments when working with this, and most of them I believe I've addressed, so we're good there. Iterating, you know, you want to go through, start small, add functionality over time. It's exactly what I've done to get to the point where I am today. You've read this slide already, but super kudos to everyone who has helped and to the whole community. Special kudos to Chris Webb. Chris, your blog has taught me more about Power Query than anything has, and honestly, I don't think that I could have done this without the information that you shared. So thanks to everyone in that technical community out there. So with no further ado, let's actually jump into the solution itself, or to start with, an overview of the solution as diagrammed in Visio. So what I've done is I've pulled in information from 4 primary sources. We'll walk through these, and then we'll walk through the solution. First of all, I've used a set of functions in Power Query, and then a query that calls those functions to pull in exercise metadata from bodybuilding.com. You remember that page that we looked at that had the exercise description and the type of equipment and all those things? Well, essentially, I have a function built in Power Query where I give it the URL for one of those pages. It parses out the information on the HTML. It returns a single record that has all of that metadata. I've got a function where you pass in a muscle group, so you know that was one of the navigation paths on the website, and it will then return one row for each of the exercises that targets that muscle group. And then I've got a query that will call each of these muscle groups and return the whole darned thing. It then loads this into a worksheet in an Excel workbook that I'm calling my data cache. The reason I have this 2 separate workbooks, so on the left-hand side of the barrier here is one workbook, on the right-hand side is another. The reason that I've got it separated is that going out and calling, you know, what's well over 1,000 web pages and parsing the information from them, this could take a good 5 or 10 minutes depending on your internet connection. So I don't want to have to wait that long when I'm refreshing the workbook every time. So I have this first workbook as my staging location. Getting back to the patterns that you see in corporate BI, typically you go from your data sources to a staging location and from there on to your data warehouse. This is the same pattern that we're applying here, applying it a little bit loosely, but applying it nonetheless. The second data source that I have is Photocracy. And I want to jump here into my browser for a second to show what Photocracy provides from a data perspective. So in Photocracy, if you click on the U tab in the top navigation and then click on the Performance tab in the left navigation, you can see for each exercise that you've performed, you can see information either in a chart form. So here's all of the barbell deadlifts that I've done over time, or you can choose to see it as a CSV. But as the savvy people will notice, the way that Photocracy does this is the CSV data is not URL addressable. Unless you're going to copy and paste hundreds of these things, there's not really a way to get it out of the system. So what I have done, and this is all documented, so don't stress the details now, is I've installed a Firefox add-in called Grease Monkey, and I have downloaded and installed into GreaseMonkey a script that is dedicated to getting a bulk CSV load. So I've hit refresh, and once I've hit refresh, because this is what the add-in requires, this bulk CSV link appears. So each time that I want to refresh the data in my workbook, I'll click on this guy, and essentially this script, I'm not sure how well this will show up in the web meeting, but it simply loops through all of the exercises, generates the CSV file for each one, and then when it's done, it will present it for download as a zip file. So during my solution, I've got this script, this bulk CSV download script, that will enable me to get all of the data from Photocracy on a regular basis and dump it into a folder on my local hard drive. The other way that I'm using Photocracy data, and this is important, which we'll talk about in a second, is I have actually done a little one-time manual data entry. First and foremost, there's no way to get the full exercise list out of Photocracy, so I did a copy and paste. I have put into my first Excel workbook these Photocracy exercises. So I have a column for the exercise themselves. This is the name that shows up in those text files. And then I've created a column for exercise type. And the reason why this is important is each one of these files has a different format. There's about 10 or so different formats. They have different column counts, different column orders, and different data in different columns. It was not designed for the type of purposes that I want to use it for, and this is perhaps the thing that has plagued me the most. So I will use in my downstream ETL in Power Query this information to say, what do I do with each file? The thing that I want to stress is if you are using the solution that I've developed, you may need to edit this information because I have only validated the exercise type for those exercises that I have personally performed and logged. So there may well be errors in here. It's very easy to change. Just update this table and save the file. What am I trying to say? But if you see something that doesn't look right, this is certainly a place to go. Jumping back into Visio, there's also the need for an exercise mapping because Photocracy has different names for the exercises. You know, maybe it's barbell deadlift where the other one calls it barbell deadlift, close grip or medium grip or something along those lines. So there's a lot of variation. There is a mapping table between the two. Notice that there's only around 350 records in here. Again, I have only mapped those that I have done or the ones where the exercise matches. So if you're going through and using this solution and you don't see an exercise showing up or the full metadata isn't there, this is a place to look. The other source for where I'm pulling information is coming out of Facebook. I pull in all of my check-ins because this can also be a time-consuming process. I'm doing this in my staging workbook as well and dropping it into a worksheet that I can then pull in from my primary workbook. So all of this is in the first workbook. Let me come up here. So I call this my reference data and cache workbook. Call it whatever you want. But this is something that you can come in. Let me come into my check-in. Simply right-click on a query, choose refresh. It will go through and reload everything. And once this is done, on whatever time frame you want to do it, you can simply use that from the primary workbook, which contains the data model and all of the reports. So let's actually jump over to this. This is the primary workbook that you will interact with when using this solution. The key things that I want to point out is late last night I added an introduction sheet. So the first time that you download this from my OneDrive, you can follow these instructions. So essentially there is the one-time setup that talks about getting that script and saving the files and editing a few queries to point to where you put your data. Ongoing instructions stressing the importance of listening to Man-O-War while you're working out. And then instructions on getting your data from Photocracy and refreshing the data inside the workbook. So it's all well documented. You don't need to listen super closely in this regard, but what I've done is I have used the query group capabilities inside of Power Query to group together all of the queries so that A, they're logically organized, and B, the one thing that you need to do to refresh all of the data is to right-click on this star schema group and choose refresh. And at this point, it will go out pulling information from both OneDrive, which is the final data source that I haven't talked about. Every morning when I get up, I log my weight and body fat from the scale, and those workbooks are stored up on OneDrive, so it will refresh that. It will pull in information from my staging workbook. It will pull in information from those photocracy files, as well as the time dimension, which honestly doesn't have a backing data source. It simply uses a Power Query script to start from January 1st of 2011, so the first year when I was really working out and tracking things, up through the current day, and presents a lot of columns that you can use to slice and dice the time dimension however you want to. So for this workbook, I've done a few things that I want to point out or want to stress. The first thing is that I have a common cached staging data query, which essentially points to that first workbook, to that to the staging data workbook, and then for any query that pulls data from there, these queries are actually referencing this common pointer query. The reason I've done this is this prevents you from needing to update the location of that workbook in multiple places. We've got the single query with the path to that, so as you can choose to save things wherever you want to, and you only need to update that in one case. I have done something similar here with the photocracy source files and metadata, where this is a common query where, as I'm pulling information out of all of these files, so I've got one query for weightlifting exercises. Essentially anything that I'm saying, I lifted this many, or this many pounds times these many reps, or time-based, or time and distance, or body weight. These are the four primary categories of exercises. They're all pulling through this one source query, which both pulls in the file data itself from that bulk CSV folder that we downloaded with the script, as well as the information from the staging workbook about the types of exercises. And I want to come in here, wrong workbook. I want to show this guy just for a second so that you can see what we are returning here. So this is the query in Power Query, and as you can see, I have the file contents themselves, so this is where we'll actually get the data from. I've got information about the file, but let me scroll off to the right here. So here on the right, I've got a function that will calculate the number of columns in that file, because this is going to be vital when we're combining the data from these files. If some of them have 7 columns and some of them have 9 columns, it's going to choke on itself. We're not going to be able to work with that, even though Power Query is much more forgiving than, for example, SQL Server integration services is when working with variances in input data. It's something that we still need to be careful about prepping the data and knowing what we're working with. I've got the exercise name, which I am parsing from the file, and I have the exercise type, which is the metadata that you saw earlier. So because this is both a pointer to the folder and it has the metadata I need downstream, this is going to give me the ability to more intelligently handle the actual data coming out of these files. I'm going to choose the weightlifting exercises query as an example. So I'm going to open this up and show off what we have here. So first of all, for the source, this is exactly what we just saw. So the source is pointing to that query. I'm going to filter it, and actually let me do this. I'm going to come into the advanced view. We never actually need to work with the script behind the scenes. 9 times out of 10, most Power Query users don't need to look at code, so if you're not a technical person, feel free to let your eyes glaze over at this point. But I want to stress that, first of all, we're pulling in from that source. for the first set of files, I'm going to say only give me those where the column count is 9, and we've got this exercise type, and then basically we combine all the binaries, we get the data from all the files, we do a little bit of reshaping and a little bit of typing, we pull it together. Next, we've got some non-standard ones, and I don't know why Photocracy does this, but they've got this one exercise where they just track it differently. So we've got a separate set of logic for that. And there are some exercises where it's weight and reps and distance, like if you're carrying something over a distance, a farmer's walk being one of them. You know, you pick up a big dumbbell and you walk around with it. So for these, different format, different data to work with, and at the end we bring them together, we change the data types. I add an index column, getting back to our data werewolves as well. One of the things that I found is that there is no unique key inside the data, so even if you're looking at the activity and the date and the set, we think, hey, this is probably going to be unique. You'd be wrong. So I add a surrogate key, basically an artificial key field, so that I can uniquely identify each record, which comes in handy in the data model later on. So once we've got this data pulled in, we've got our weightlifting data, we've got our body composition data, we've got our check-in data that we're pulling in. We have a set of both fact and dimension tables. I had someone tell me on Facebook yesterday, it's like, no one uses the fact and dimension or fact and dim prefixes anymore. It's like, oh, maybe you're right, but I did in this case, and it's too difficult to change it now, so we're going to be old school here. So we've got our time dimension. We have an exercise dimension, which has one record for each exercise that we have data about. We've got our body composition, which has one weight and body fat record per day. We have our exercise log, where we have one record per exercise that we've performed. So all of this, I keep going to the wrong workbook. So all of this is in the workbook itself. This is the big thing. Let's see what we can do with it. So walking through the workbook itself, I'm actually just going to go left to right. One of the things that I track, you know, there's a general guideline or a general best practice that I see everywhere in fitness is like, don't get on the scale. Don't get on the scale more than once a week or once a month or whatever it is. Don't worry about it, because, you know, honestly, this is something I've learned many times. Body fat and weight, they're not the things that you're targeting. That's not your actual KPIs, but it is an easy thing to track, and it is a part of the big picture. The thought of capturing data once per week when I could capture data every day, it would just drive me crazy. I'm an OCD data guy in that regard, so I capture the data every day, but I only look at the aggregate trends, so I can see on a month-by-month basis what my average, max, and min weight and average, max, and min body fat are. I can see trends, and I can, you know, essentially, I know the stories behind the dips and the peaks and so on, which we won't get into today, but it's something that as you are working to remain motivated, this is a great way to look and say, you know, I may not be having the month that I did last year. You know, maybe maybe I missed a couple days at the gym, or maybe I didn't control myself, and I had that fourth cocktail when I really didn't, really should have only had one or two. You have to live your life, but being able to remember how far you've come, even if you're feeling like, oh my goodness, I've messed everything up, remembering the progress that you've made is very important, at least to me. This is one of the ways that that progress pictures and tracking comes in handy as well. You guys saw my not really a before picture earlier as well. So we come in here. I was pushing 210 pounds at that point, and even though I was down 10 or 15 already, it was still not my best day. But the thing that I want to stress here, remember how I said that body weight is not the most important thing. It's not the meaningful thing to track. I want to show two pictures side by side. The first one is from about 18 months ago, so it was May of last year, hitting 185 pounds, under 19% body fat, and this one is my current week's progress picture, so up half a pound and up a couple points for body fat. But even though the numbers say one thing, if I look where I was before, not too impressive, right? Not saying that I'm impressive at all. I'm never going to be the fitness model guy. But when I look at me, the thing that I'm actually tracking, I can see better definition, I can see better fitness, I can see more muscles, I can see that damn vein sticking out in my neck. I hadn't noticed that guy before. But I can see on those mornings when I'm feeling like I have been pushing myself and driving myself and I'm just not making any progress. We all have those days when it seems like nothing's working. Being able to go back and see, not just in numbers, but in the rich data, in the pictures themselves, the changes that we've made in ourselves, this is very, very motivating. And at this point, I want to do a quick personal call out. I know that my friend Rolly is on this call. Rolly has, in the past year, worked on his own personal fitness goal. I've been watching him on Facebook, and I just want to say that both what you shared and the progress that you've made, Rolly, is stunning. I can't imagine how you've done it or what you've done. So kudos, extra kudos to you. Moving back into the reports here, I have 3 separate dashboard reports set up in my workbook that focus on either weight training exercises, distance training exercise, or body weight exercises. And the thing that I can do is for the top level, in the filters, I can select the activity that I want to target. So right now we're looking at barbell bench press. I could choose barbell deadlift or whatever it is that we want to look at. We looked at deadlift earlier, so we'll go with this guy. So I'm pulling in both the image URLs or the image from bodybuilding.com as well as a whole bunch of metadata from my personal exercises. The key things that are important to me is when I'm planning my workout for the week ahead, typically my program will say, do these exercises in this rep range. So choose a weight where you will hit failure. You can't go on anymore after this many repetitions. So the first view that I have in my dashboard is for a given rep. So this is my 1 rep max right now. So 1 rep or 2 rep or 3 reps or 10 reps, what's the maximum weight that I've actually lifted in the past at this weight? And by simply being able to choose a specific activity, let's go back to bench press, we'll see the same sort of thing here, I can see exactly what I've done, and I can either target that, or if I'm trying to push beyond, maybe add 5 pounds or add 10 pounds or what have you. I can also see down here on the bottom right my historical progress, so how many pounds have I moved, what's the total volume that I've moved per month over time. I can see in this chart here 3 different views. One of them is the maximum pounds that I've lifted in that month, which is kind of what we have below, but from a max perspective. But the red and blue are 2 different calculations for a 1 RM or single rep max weight KPI target figure. The 1 rep max is a bodybuilding concept that essentially says, based on what you've lifted so far, this is what we believe you could lift with a single rep on your best day based on what you've done so far. And let me zoom in up here real quick. There are 2 different standard calculations. I don't know which one is which one or which one is valid. I have a feeling that for me, this one is probably a lot closer to being accurate than this one is. But they have 2 different calculations that people use to set these targets. And by having this as part of the dashboard, if I am either looking to set a personal record, I've set a goal or a challenge for myself, or if I'm using a technique like negative reps, where you actually go beyond this, and even though you don't lift the weight, you lower the weight in a very controlled fashion, it's a way to push past a plateau and to achieve gains in strength that you might not otherwise be able to achieve. So I've got all this information right in a single dashboard. From a distance perspective, as we move over to distance training, we've got the same sort of thing but with less information because A, distance is less interesting to me, and this is my workbook, but also I don't use this quite so much. But for each one of these exercises, I do more stationary biking than pretty much any other distance or cardio stuff. I can see how many miles I bike, what my average is for a bunch of different things. For running, let me come down here. I can see what I've run, how I'm running. I'm actually training for my very first 5K right now. I hate running, but I've got a bunch of friends who run, and if I run in the 5K, then they will be more receptive when I tell them that running sucks and they should go to the gym instead. And someone out there is laughing at me. Keep in mind that I am laughing at myself as well. For body weight training, this is also one of the areas that's less fleshed out, but for body weight exercises like pull-ups or push-ups or dips or the like, I can again see how many I've done, what my maximum reps are, things like that. I've got some updates that I want to do in the queries that feed into this that I have yet to do, so that's a little to-do item for me. I've got a big picture view that tracks things over time in general, so I can see on a month-by-month basis how many points I've earned on photocracy, broken down by muscle group. And remember that all of the metadata about muscle groups and the like is coming from bodybuilding.com through the mashup that we're doing. So I can see essentially where I've been spending my time. If I sort down below, looking at the details by volume as an example, I can see which exercises or on which exercises I have moved the most weight over time as well. So it's, again, a motivation tool as well as a tracking tool. I love this visualization in PowerView, but to be honest with you, I don't know how to get value out of it. I've left it in here because it looks so pretty, but other than seeing the size saying how many pounds I've moved and the size being how many activities, how many different exercises, and the size being how many pounds I moved. It's not super useful. I can track my Facebook check-ins, so I'm pulling this information in. One of the things that you'll notice down here in the bottom right is I tend to get to the gym way too early. One of my personal goals is moderation. So, most of the time I have gotten to the gym in the 4 o'clock hour more than any other hour of the day, which is probably not the healthiest thing to do. I do want to stress that for 2014, if I filter this, I am now in a much better state from a moderation and daily sanity perspective than I have been in past years, so I'm making some progress there. And from a more tactical or day-to-day tracking perspective, and this is the last report here, I can look at the individual workouts. So, for example, let me click here. Yesterday was leg day at the gym, so in the morning I got up and did these things. I have started a fencing activity in the evening, so great sport, a different outlet for my fitness bug, but I can see what I've done on a day-to-day basis, the points that I've earned day on day. Again, just keeping motivated. You can see that I've got some days that are primarily rest days. I'll do a little bit of cardio, but not a lot more. Today was one of them, so I got to the gym and did a little bit of time on the stationary bike before I came into the office. It's a great way to start the day, and with the solution in Excel, it's a great way to keep track of the progress that you've made and the effort that you've put in. So for me, I've learned a couple things about fitness through my exercise. The thing that I want to stress is that everything that you see online, if you were to look, let me come over here. Let me do this for a second. So if you look at me on Twitter, I focus on my little, my little profile picture. This is the best progress picture, the best selfie I've ever taken. Bulging muscle right after the gym, little bit of sweat, Man-O-War logo. boy, that's metal. That's a fit guy, right? Well, I don't look like that most of the time. I work out, but I was born to be tall and skinny, not muscular. But as you are working on your fitness journey, be aware that the things that everyone promotes is the best of the best. They're showing you the highlight reel from their life, and what we tend to do is we tend to compare our day-to-day reality with somebody else's highlight reel. This is one of the things that I've struggled with. I always tend to compare myself to those around me. I want to be better than him. I want to be bigger, stronger, faster, smarter, whatever, whether it's in fitness or any other aspect of my life. You need to realize that the thing that you're judging yourself against, if you do this, is not actually real. I also want to point out that from a from a dietary perspective, a lot of people say, and it's like, I would love to be in better shape if it didn't mean dieting and exercise. The thing that I found is that I'm never hungry. I eat more and I eat better these days than I ever have. The key thing to stay on track with your fitness without thinking about it as dieting is to just have the food that you need with you, to have the good food with you. Have a power bar, Quest bar, what have you. Prep your meals on the weekends. Making bad choices is usually the result of poor preparation more than anything else. I also want to point out that sleep is perhaps the most important thing for me. On those days when I get 8 hours of sleep, I feel great. I'm on track. If I get 6 hours of sleep or 4 hours of sleep or whatever as the deadlines and the travel comes and goes, that impacts every aspect of my life. I've been amazed at how important sleep is. And I've also cut alcohol out of my life for the last 6 months or so. It's made a huge difference. I miss a cocktail now and then, but remember that if you are trying to make a change, alcohol works against you, not necessarily because of the calories in the drink, but because it weakens your willpower and there's calories around the drink. And the final thing here, if I look and if I'm honest with myself, my primary goal is to be 25 again, and no matter how much I'm working out, I'm still getting older. I need to figure out a way to adjust my goals, but we haven't quite reached that yet. So next steps for me, for the solution itself, I need to, as mentioned during the tour, I need to focus on body weight tracking and make sure that's a little bit more realistic. Photocracy for a lot of these exercises lets you track if you have either additional weight on you or if it's an assisted exercise. I currently don't have logic to handle that. I need to get that in there for my model to be complete. I'm also looking at additional data sources to put in. I've started pulling in information from the USDA nutrient database. So for a given serving of a given type of food, how much protein, how many carbs, how many calories, how much fat, things like that. Having this as additional stream of input opens up more and more BI scenarios. I don't know when I'm going to get to it, but we could do that. There's also additional data sources like a Fitbit or other fitness trackers. I don't use any of them today, but when there's one on the market that looks like it's worth my time and worth my money, I will definitely be looking at this additional data stream coming in. And of course, Power BI is an ongoing set of capabilities. Most teams, including the Power Query team, release new capabilities every month. So I will be updating this for my own personal uses as we go on, and we'll try to keep this up to date and keep it shared with the community. And of course, I'm trying to get a little bit more moderation and balance in my life, not working out every single day. One of the things that I'm doing, I mentioned, is starting fencing. If you are in the Seattle area, I recommend going to lonin.org. We've got the URL up there. If you are not in the Seattle area, I recommend going to swordschool.com. Check it out in case you're interested in something that is cooler than you ever thought that people actually did. Next steps for you guys, hopefully you will go to powerbi.com, download the add-ins, go for the free trial of the Office 365 stuff in the cloud, kick the tires, see how you can use this for your own scenarios. And to reiterate some of the things that we looked at from a fitness resources perspective. Let me just throw some URLs up there. Create an account on Photocracy, the great social network, great data source, even if you've got to massage it a little. I think I've done most of the heavy lifting there already, no pun intended. There's great resources on bodybuilding.com. Pick one of the programs. If you don't know what you're doing, these guys know what to do. Follow their instructions, see the progress, revisit and reevaluate. But this is, if there's one takeaway from a fitness perspective, start with one of these programs, just do it, lift the weight, go through the exercise, follow the guidance. You'll be amazed at how well you respond if you haven't been doing this before. And the jimstepani.com, if you decided that this is something that you want to work into your life. I can't say enough about the advice that this guy has. I think of him in many ways as the Elton Brown of weightlifting. If you've ever watched cooking shows, Elton Brown runs Good Eats, and it's all focused on telling a story, having the science to back it up, and communicating it in a very accessible way. Here's a technique, here's a dish, do it. Here's an exercise, here's a program, here's why you do it, now do it. So, you know, kudos to Jim. And I have shared all of the resources demonstrated today. The OneDrive URL is down there. I will tweet it shortly. But essentially what I've done is in a public folder on my OneDrive, I have my reference data cache. I have the main workout tracking workbook. I have that Grease Monkey script. When I was trying to get it yesterday, the main URL that I downloaded it from wasn't working, so I took my local copy and dropped it on OneDrive so you can get started. I have a sample weight and body fat tracking workbook that this workbook references, and then I've got a README file to get you started in case you've forgotten everything that we've talked about, or in case you find or someone finds the OneDrive resources before they see this particular slide. So with no further ado, I want to point out, A, we're over time, B, we finished earlier than I thought we would, and C, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, suggestions for improvement, anything along these lines, either on the Power BI side of things or on the fitness side of things, please reach out to me on Twitter. I am at SQL Allfather, and I really am looking forward to getting feedback from everyone who's attended. Thank you very much for spending this hour with me, and I look forward to the conversation that we're kicking off today. Hopefully I've inspired at least one person out there to get into better shape. The people in my fitness circle, my fitness network, have really made a big difference in my life, so hopefully I'll be able to pay forward just a little bit with this solution. So with no further ado, I will hand this back over to you, Jen, and thank you very much for making this work. And I'm not hearing Jen, so she may not be with us, or she may be fumbling with her mute button.
I'm fumbling with my mute button.
There we go. Thank you, Jen.
Sorry about that. And thank you very, very much. That was an awesome session. I really enjoyed that. I learned a lot about the fitness side of things. I have tried some of these programs. I did the Lee Labrada one, and I did the Jamie one as well. And actually knocked 6 inches off my waist, which is just when you consider that's the circumference of your waist, how much fat that must have been. I hope I'm not putting anyone off their dinner. But I thought that was an amazing session. We've had loads of great comments, so without further ado, I'll shoot to the questions if that's okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm unfamiliar with the GoToMeeting Q&A side of things, so if you could read them. Sure. I'll respond to you verbally if that works.
Yeah, that's better. There's a small questions panel at the right-hand side. Sorry, I should have showed you earlier. That's my fault. But the first question is a really simple one. There are lots of bands called Power something. And is this where the name Power BI comes from?
It's absolutely, that is the case. We named Power BI after the power metal genre of heavy metal, not after a specific band, but just after the metal in general. We were going to call it BI O War after Manowar, since we're all huge Manowar fans, but we figured that that would be actionable, and we steered clear of that.
I'm not sure what Microsoft marketing would have thought of that. AC/DC has been mentioned, of course, another. Well, I like them, and I can't believe you're in Birmingham. I didn't realise that. So Forrest said that this much data just rocks, and what an amazing project. And Gina has dying to know what the OneDrive tip is, but I think it's the...
Yep, so the OneDrive tip is essentially a specific way of pulling data, an HTTP addressable Excel workbook. It was something that I don't know if I would have figured this out on my own, but thanks to the blog, where I've got the URL to that blog in the workbook itself, essentially what you do is you take the resource ID that OneDrive embeds in the URL, and you put it into a specific format link that's onedrive.com/download something with that ID. But essentially, you need to take information from a couple places and craft the URL yourself is the tip.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Just a few more questions, a few comments. Somebody said they thought it was really interesting. Donald has said that handling irregular column sizes was a really interesting technique. So thank you for that. And Rolly has said, nice job, Matthew. And Becky has said it was a great presentation and congratulations on your story as well. And Becky has also asked that she said she noticed Excel supports JavaScript now, and she loves the D3 demos. Any plans on doing anything using D3 in Excel? And she's got a smiley after it.
Oh, so honestly, I don't know what D3 is. Just for full clarity or full visibility, Becky, my work at Microsoft is on some of the back-end services. I work on the data catalog team, which is we provide services for information management and data discovery. When it comes to Excel, I am a user. I am a consumer. I don't know what the Excel team has in mind, and as much as it pains me to admit this out loud in public, I don't really write code anymore. You know, I was a professional developer for many years, and these days I spend more time in Outlook and PowerPoint and Word than I do in any real technical tool. So I apologize, I don't know the details there.
That's okay, thank you very much. So Becky's just came back to say thank you, and Jeff and a few others have asked for the download link for the Excel workbook, which you're showing in the screen at the bottom there, the bottom left hand side, and I'll try and tweet that out as well to make sure everybody can see it. And that was the end of the questions, and I just wanted to say thank you very much, Matthew, for your time. That was an amazing session, and at the very early part of the day for you as well, out in Seattle. So thank you very much for getting up so early for us and presenting us with a great session.
Well, thank you, Jen, and thank you to everyone who's attended. I'm really looking forward to seeing the recording as well, and I will be tweeting over the next couple minutes links to the resources that I've shared. So if for any reason you don't have that URL, you'll have it shortly. SQL Allfather on Twitter.
That's great, thank you. The YouTube video will go up on our site as YouTube, and then it's /PassBIVC. It should go up later this evening. What I have to do is take the video, then squash it up so it fits into YouTube. But I've got a converter to do that, and I'll be doing that in the next few hours. So I wanted to say thank you very much to Matthew, and thank you to everybody for their engagement and their attendance, and I'd like to say thank you to Pragmatic Works as well for looking after us in this session, and they support us, and they will be giving out the usual book token. So with that, I will end the session, and thank you everyone, and wherever you are in the world, good morning, good evening or good night. Thanks everyone. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.